The next show we're going to be talking about is Natsume Yuujinchou Roku, or Natsume Book of Friends 6.
Season 6.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I cannot say enough about. Literally, they could go for like 20 seasons on this, and I would probably still watch every single damn season that comes out. Because just, yes.
We were just talking about this show like a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Because it wasn't on this last season that it came out with. It was a season.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They skipped it.
Yeah, so they skipped a season and now they're on this season. So, but this is, God, you could watch, like, again, I am not one, do not get me wrong, I am not one for slice of life. And this is definitely a slice of life anime. And I have a hard time watching them because usually they're just boring. There's nothing really going on. But I mean, that's slice of life. You're just looking at someone's life as they're doing it and whatnot. But it's so interesting and entertaining to watch. I can't not. You want to know what happens. You feel for him. You get emotional with him. You see his life. You see what he has to put up with, and you want to know more. And you want to know what his decisions are going to be. I mean, at this point in his life, he has a pretty big potential about being an exorcist, basically. And it's interesting. Okay. It's interesting to see if he's going to go down that road, because he has in his life two big influences where he sees both ends of the spectrum of exorcists. One who takes really good care and cares a lot about the other spirits out there, who actually has them on his side, and he treats them as either friends or family. And then you have the opposite end of this spectrum, where they're his slaves, essentially. And he just, he will do it for the money. He does it for the fame. And he just wants to make sure, he doesn't care if it's even a good or bad. If it's something that needs to get taken, he'll do it. Doesn't care. And he literally will take them out. Most of the times, the other exorcists will actually seal them away, or whatnot. No, he will take them out. He doesn't care, And so it's interesting to see where he's going to go with that. Even more so in the story, we're finding out more about his grandmother, who he got the book from in the first place, and seeing more about the family. Like last season, we saw kind of like a little more of a prequel to even the beginning of the first season.
Oh.
Because you see the family that he is currently with, the family that he's been with now for 6 seasons. You see what that family did before and why they chose to have him come with them. And it's really just amazing. I love it. It's a heart-touching story, because I mean, I smiled and everything. I was laughing, smiling, just kind of like, because I mean, it's not necessarily spoiling anything with it, but he the father figure, basically, that he is with at this point in his life, he went to a funeral where he saw him, like maybe a few weeks before he ended up adopting him, because I mean, they're all family, but he just kind of takes care of him now. He saw him at a funeral, and everyone avoided him and everyone hated him. Everyone was talking bad about him behind his back. And he's like, he's a kid. Why are so many people shunning him in the family when he's a kid? Why? And he felt anger. And if someone you're watching that, I felt the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. I mean, he's a little bit different, but come on now. That's a family. You don't, So, and then what did he immediately went home, and his wife was like, oh, so how did things go? And he was like, okay, fine. And he completely kind of ignored her a little bit. And she was like, what? And he goes up and he's cleaning out one of the spare rooms that they had. And she starts asking about it, and she realizes, and that's what he was already prepping the room for Natsume to come in because he was like, he'd already made up his mind at that point. He's like, no. I am taking him away from that. He's coming to live with us. And I'm like, oh, man, that's cool. You know, it's just those little heart-touching story things and everything. So, I mean, this whole world, I mean, it's not necessarily the world is different, but I guess the adding of the spirit realm and whatnot and all the monsters and other yokai that he ends up coming across and finding kind of changes it into its own little world in its own sense. But just seeing more about it and seeing more about this Natsume's life and everything is so interesting. So I'm highly excited to see how this is going to go. Want more? Give me more. Yeah. Absolutely. And maybe you will eventually end up catching up on this one.
Yeah. It's like almost 80 episodes, maybe.
Hey, the longer you wait, the more there's going to be.
Well, 80 minus 1. I've seen one episode. But, yeah, every time you talk about the show, I'm like, I want to watch it.
And then you don't watch it.
Yeah.
So, good stuff all around. Highly recommend to anybody out there. Even if you're not necessarily a fan of slice of life anime, give it a shot, because you probably will not be disappointed. I can almost guarantee you that.
Cool. Another season of another great show.
Keep them sequels coming.
All right.
You can't lose, and then time has to run out. And it was just like, oh my God, like that's, holy crap, how do you come up with it?
I wouldn't say it's my most anticipated, but it's like the best characters that I want to hang out with for next season. So, and all I saw them do was like walk